first, I want to know when did you first get into Marvel Champions? Like when did you start playing the game roughly?
Yeah, so I have a discrete Marvel Champions experience. So I got the game around 2019,
Mhm.
2020, somewhere in there. I don't remember exactly. I just had the core box and I was playing with a couple of my friends and we played like two or three games of the core box. I was Spider-Man, my friend Ethan was Iron Man, and my friend Adam was Captain Marvel. And we played like Rhino and Claw and then lost to Ultron. So and then we lost to Ultron again. And then I was like, we're just losing over and over again. Let me Google who I should buy to just beat Ultron because we can't do it just with our
Mhm.
skills alone. So then I bought Doctor Strange and then at the same time bought the Mad Titans Shadow
Okay.
expansion because that was it was around the time that Infinity War and Endgame and stuff was all going around. And I was like, who do I want to play? I want to play against Thanos. So I grabbed Doctor Strange and Mad Titan's Shadow, and then I was texted my friend, and I was like, okay, we can do this time. And then he canceled like twice, and then I never played the game again for like 3 years. So it sat in my closet for 3 years with an unopened Doctor Strange and Mad Titan's Shadow. So I only had like 4 or 5 games in at that point. And then when I started playing again, it was because I met my girlfriend Paulina, who's on stream with me every once in a while. We
Mhm.
were looking for a just something to do, and I was like, I have this game that's been sitting in my closet for a long time. We could try that out. And then, um, she played Black Panther, and then I played Doctor Strange, and she like babysat me with all the minions, all the drone minions, and I just stunned and confused locked Ultron, and then we won. It
And it was
was
the
like
best feeling in the world, yeah.
yeah, it was my first win against Ultron, like ever. Yeah, and then so that was in 2023, I
Okay.
think. Yeah, it was as I was graduating from my undergrad. Um, it was then, and then I moved on after that. So I went in a completely backwards order. I so then we beat the Ultron, and then immediately did Mad Titan's Shadow, and
Mhm.
I just started deck building for Adam Warlock as like my first hero that I played multiple times in a row, and then yeah, and then I went backwards after that because we did that, and then um it was oh I'm forgetting what it was, but basically I did Red Skull last.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, at least with finishing with Red Skull, it's like, he's one of the hardest, or I'm sorry, one of the easiest ones. So like by the time you get to that point, like the game's super easy.
Yeah, it was weird going backwards. But it was so frustrating though, like going backwards and then realizing that team training existed and I'm like, "Wait, I can give all my allies plus 1 hit point?"
This is
That's
such a good card.
I'd never done that before with leadership.
Now, were there other like deck construction games you had also played, like Lord of the Rings, Arkham Heart, whatever it may be, before this, or was this kind of your first like foray into that type of game?
Yeah, the first one I played as a little kid watching the anime, I played a bunch of Yu-Gi-Oh.
Okay.
But then the problem with Yu-Gi-Oh was it wasn't very fun and it was too expensive. So even though I love
Yeah.
the game and the cards and all that stuff, it's just to play at a local level, even just at like your local game store, it's too expensive for me. And
Yeah.
I hated the release order of like they give like a structure deck,
Mhm.
which is like equivalent to a hero pack, but then you have to it only comes with one copy of each card, and there's like three of them that are good. But in order to build the good deck out of that, you have to buy three copies of the same product
Oh my
and then like
God.
not use over half the cards and then run three copies of the good cards. And the Marvel Champions just doesn't make purposefully good and bad cards and then gives you three copies already. So it was so much better.
Yeah, yeah, no, it definitely is a better system. I mean, that's how I was too with Magic and like Pokemon stuff. Is I started with that when I was young and loved it. But you know, as somebody who didn't have a ton of money to throw at the game, it's like you would go to a local tournament and just like, oh, I'm getting like stomped on. This is not
Yeah,
enjoyable.
I went to like two Yu-Gi-Oh events and
Mm,
I did okay one time because people were playing troll decks and not trying.
yeah, yeah.
That was
Well, you
it.
gotta take the wins when you can get them with that.
Yeah, I took all two of my wins that I ever got in Yu-Gi-Oh at locals.
So, and then, all right, so you start the game up, and then you decide to start your YouTube channel shortly after that, somewhat after that. Like, when did that kind of come around?
Um, yeah, so like I graduated from my undergrad and then I moved to Colorado
Mhm,
for graduate school. And then I was still playing the game, but then I had a bike ride to campus that I would
mhm,
go on. And then I just got interested and I was like, I need something to listen to while I'm riding my bike to school. And I just started listening to uh like YouTube videos like
mhm,
from I think the ones that had come up at that point were like you and Nelson and Web Warrior Fanatic
mhm,
were the ones that were popping up for me when I was on my bike. And then not that long into it, you posted a video that I listened to just saying, uh, if you want to make videos about Marvel Champions, join my Discord and send me a message and I'll help you out.
mhm.
And I just did that, just randomly, before I'd even really watched much Marvel Champions videos. And then you helped me out, and then yeah. So thank you. The
Yeah.
Dandelion wouldn't exist without D20 woodworking.
All right. Well, yeah. Well, hopefully, my inspirational videos and you went, well, I could do that better. So hopefully that, you know, got you pushed along to doing it, but it's good. It's good. And that's what I've always said. Like, I hope more and more people that like, are, I mean, creating content, as you now know, is just like, it's exhausting, but it's fun. And being able to
Yeah,
create these videos, but yeah,
it's
whoever's
like an
interested,
extra
do it.
homework assignment each week.
Dude, it really is. It really is. And then, you know, we, for everyone that's listening, we were joking kind of before this. I can't get anything to work on my computer. And like people think like to create content is just, you know, it's easy. You just hit record and you start doing the thing. And there's so many little like technical issues that happen along the way of just like things crashing, things not working. And that's like, I don't know about you, but that seems to be my bigger issue like a quarter of the time is just technical problems.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason I was able to help debug that restream thing on your stream was because I ran into it like 10 times in a row.
And
Yeah, it was a lot.
yeah, and it's just it's crazy. And you know what's funny? Speaking about that, I got so my I had that same restream issue again, and I tried fixing it that way, didn't work, and I just like gave up. And now I found something else that we're going to be testing out. But like this is like half the job is just like, all right, what's a new program? Let me try this new program, see if it's a little better than the old one, and then you try it, and then it fails, and you're like, okay, hopefully we could do this better.
Yeah, I also looked around for like a new way to merge the chats. I
Mhm.
found one that worked well that was free, but it didn't have a way of screen capturing it to get it actually on the stream. So it was like working well for my end to where I could see the chat. So I like tried to window capture it. That didn't work. So I was like,
Yeah.
okay, I'll just cheat. I'll just do a screen capture of my screen and then crop it around the chat. But when I screen captured on my stream, something happened and it just grayed out the chat. And
Love it.
I was really confused and then I just moved on. I quit.
I'm testing a new one. Once I go live tonight, I think I'm going live. We'll see if it actually works. And if it does, I'll send it to you and let you know. Because this it seems easy so far, which means it's gonna like totally fall apart on stream. But so far, it seems good.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see. I'm knocking on wood with that one. Okay, so with Marvel Champions, do you how was your buying collection? Like did you kind of just dive all in at once and buy all the expansions or did you be a smart person and take your time and wait for sales?
I'd say something in between.
Okay.
So yeah, because I still don't have a job, obviously, because I'm in school.
Mhm.
So I don't have that much money as a like a graduate student in mechanical engineering. That's hopefully going to be like later on that works out. But so yeah, I didn't just buy everything because so what I did was I had from that starting point of Mad Titan's Shadow and the Doctor Strange pack. Um, I was like, I can't actually afford to buy all this stuff.
Hmm.
So I just identified that I prefer campaign boxes over hero expansions because you get two heroes in addition to
Yeah.
five villains in a campaign. And I actually prefer getting more villains than more heroes.
Yeah.
I think just because it's a deck building game,
Hmm.
because I can vary my deck, so I have variability with my heroes already. So the new experiences to me feel like, as far as like buying new products, it feels like I'll get more new experiences from getting new villains.
Hmm.
So then I grabbed almost no hero packs at the beginning,
Okay.
and just would get a campaign box, play through it a couple times. So like play through it once with the heroes that they came with, play through it again, and all this was two player with Paulina,
Hmm.
and play through it again with some other heroes, and then eventually get another campaign box, and the hero packs were just scattered. So at the time I started my YouTube channel, I had like way less than half the game,
Okay.
and then I just like once my YouTube channel came up, I started playing more often.
Hmm.
So then I sort of like accelerated it from there, but I didn't get it in bulk. There was only because like I see what some people do is they get like everything at once and then they have like 20 heroes they haven't played,
Yeah.
but then it's like overwhelming and then they just sort of like freeze and then stop playing.
Yep.
But I was never in that situation. It was the most heroes I had at a time that I can remember that I hadn't played was like it was less than 5.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
I never had like more than 4 or 5 heroes at a time that I hadn't played yet.
Nice, nice. Yeah, that situation is the same exact thing that happened to me. I've mentioned this before with Arkham Horror. Is I just went, yeah, no, I'll just buy all the expansions and figure it out. And then because I am who I am, I open them all up, and I'm like, oh, I am overwhelmed now. I don't understand what half these cards do. This is miserable, and I hate everything right now.
How do you feel about Arkham versus Marvel Champions? Because I've played Arkham a little bit, but not a lot.
I think they're two very, very different feeling games. So like Marvel Champions, obviously, it's very snappy. It's just one bunch of one offs. You're kind of playing through, yada yada. Arkham is weird because it's easier for me in the card combos. Like I think that's easier. I think um the events you play, whatever they're called, scenarios, I guess, are tougher because you're meant to lose some of them. Like you're not really meant to, but you can lose them and fail forward, which has always been interesting. So I like it, and the storytelling is really good. I mean, it tells really cool and interesting stories. But I I like okay, so as you progress, you get more experience and you get to upgrade your cards. And sometimes getting the stronger card is the best option, and sometimes switching cards completely to something else is the best option. And I'm not great with that. I'm not smart enough with the cards to know what should combo really well with other cards on the upgrades, especially. And then there's times when you're in the middle of a campaign and one of your investigators dies, and it's like, oh no, they're dead, so you got to start from scratch. And it's just like I have to now deck construct all over again and try to figure out a combo. And like that's exhausting to me. Like I'm just not built for that, I think. So I like it. It's enjoyable, but I do have a tendency after almost every single campaign going, yeah, I don't want to play that for a few more months.
Yeah, Marvel Champions definitely isn't like that for me.
Now, now,
I don't
now.
the I played like one campaign. I played
Hmm.
like one and a half campaigns with one of my friends for Arkham.
Hmm.
I don't have Arkham though. But the thing, like, I really like all the like thematics of it, and it's interesting to me.
Hmm.
But there's one like core game mechanic that just bothers me every time. It's just every time I reach into the bag, it just feels frustrating to me. And
Yes.
because it's like
Yeah.
I reach into the bag and then I I like I had a habit of I drew the auto fail like 3 or 4 times in one game. And I was like, if it was actually random, I don't think that would have happened. I'm just like picking it out of the bag because I'm bad. I'm like slightly bad at that somehow. It feels like. But then also that hero ability that triggers off that certain symbol
Mhm.
that comes up. See, like also not a Arkham player, so don't. I don't even know the name of this ability, so don't put too much
Yeah, I don't
stock
even
on what I'm
know.
saying.
Yeah.
But like that that almost never comes up, and I'm like, I want to use my hero ability, but I just actually never get the chance, and that
Mm.
feels frustrating to me.
That's what I've always talked about with Arkham players because they'll make the argument how much better it is because obviously they love the game and that's fine. But like for Marvel Champions, I feel like there's one super random thing, right? The encounter deck. What we don't know we're gonna flip over, that's our random thing. Well, Arkham has that too. Plus, then the bag in which you're drawing, which can make you, like you said, auto fail or you just fail in general. And I hate that it's basically double the amount of luck it feels like in Arkham because of that bag versus Marvel Champions, where it's just like, okay, yeah, I have to deal with the encounter card. Maybe it's Shadow of the Past, maybe it's something else, but I can deal with it. I could deal with the quote unquote encounter cards in Arkham. It's just that bag, like there's just so much extra planning that I can't plan for both those things, you know?
Yeah, and then also Marvel Champions is super different than every other card game I've played,
Hmm.
because in most other card games you get one card per turn.
Right.
But then in this game, like it's not an external resource that you have. It's the cards are the resources, and then you refresh your whole hand every turn. So
Hmm.
at that pace is just so different. And then you get to see your whole deck like very quickly compared to other games too.
Yeah, and that's like the opposite of like Lord of the Rings too, right? So Lord of the Rings is a card game. You get resources each round basically, and then you spend those resources to buy cards, but you're only getting one card each round. You have a 60 card decks, and like if you deck out, you lose. So you don't even want to. You can't physically see all your cards, or you're gonna lose the game. So it's that much slower paced game, and then every single turn there's like an action window, like every 5 seconds there's an action window, so you're playing the game, it's like, oh wait, action here, action there, whatever, and it becomes like this long drawn out process, and I love the theme, I love the game, but it gets exhausting too.
I have the revised core box for Lord of the Rings,
Yeah.
and I've sat down to play it like a handful of times.
Mm.
Me and Paulina played the first expansion where you're just like fighting spiders,
Yes.
and that one was super easy.
Yes.
Also, in the very first game I ever played, I was playing the leadership like Aragorn deck,
Mm.
and I got double Steward of Gondor like turn one, and that seemed really broken to me because I just had like infinite resources at that
Yeah.
point. But then going into scenario two, it was like, oh, this is a difficulty like four or whatever they said it was in the book. We haven't beat it yet. We've lost like three times to it.
Dude, their scenario rankings are so bad. There's a couple later on when they're like, "Oh, this is like a 3, and it's the hardest thing I've ever done in my life." And then one of them was like a 9 or a 10. And like I beat it the first time I tried. And I was like, "I don't think you understand difficulty."
Yeah, it's so weird because I was wondering if it's actually like the second scenario is actually difficult
Mhm.
or if it's one of those things where you can't just like you have to build a deck to win and win ever.
Yeah. There's one of the scenarios in the core, yeah, in the core box for true solo is almost impossible. It's an almost impossible scenario, and there's a guy in the community for Lord of the Rings. I forgot his name, C-Stan, and he built the quote unquote the one deck. So if you own all the cards, you can build this deck and it can beat every single scenario. But the only way he can beat that scenario was literally playing it like 80 times in a row because you have to get the perfect draw and everything has to perfectly work out for you. And it's an impossible scenario.
That's
On
for
two
the
player,
core
it's better.
box.
That was in the core box. Yeah.
Is it
Yeah.
the last one or the second one?
Uh,
I haven't
it
played the last one yet.
it's in the second one. Did one of your heroes get captured?
We haven't really made it that far. We keep getting killed by the hill trolls.
Oh, Hill Trolls. Okay, yes, no. So this is the last one then. Yeah, the last one's harder.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, the Hill Troll run is rough. But the last one is, on multiplayer, it's better. On true solo, it's almost impossible. Like it's so hard to play. It's frustrating.
Yeah, I'm gonna come back to it at some point and like actually think about building a good deck to try to win. But I was kind of surprised coming from Marvel Champions
Mhm.
that they would ship like pre-con decks that just can't win if
Yeah.
that is the case. I don't know if that's the case or not, or if I'm just playing it bad, but
Might be a little bit of both. I mean, they're just rough, and like I said, Lord of the Rings is rough. And you know what's funny too is when I first started my YouTube channel, I had a pretty good handle of Lord of the Rings, I thought, and I'd play games on the live stream, and I upload the video, and there was a guy or two that would come through and comment like paragraphs of every little rule mistake I made. And it was hilarious because I was like, I think I'm good at this game. And it turns out, no, you're not. Like, you're trash and you keep making rules mistakes over and over. And like, he was a nice guy. I mean, he was never mean about it or anything, but it's just like, man, like, this game is just tough because there's so many little things. And like, there's things you have to check on all the cards constantly, which is always frustrating compared to like Marvel Champions. Like, yeah, there's a handful of cards you have to pay attention to, but at least not like every card constantly.
I wonder if I'm making rules mistakes because when my first impression of Lord of the Rings was that the rules were way easier to follow than Marvel Champions. But that might mean I'm just missing everything.
You should live stream it. If you live stream it, let me know. I'll pop in. And I'll let you know if you missed anything.
Yeah, because it feels like, okay, I have a defined action window where I just do my actions. And that
Mhm.
feels really simple to me. But yeah, because like a lot of the confusion in Marvel Champions when I come into rules mistakes, it's when it's like, does this interrupt slash force interrupt slash thing that functions like an interrupt but isn't labeled with the timing, which one goes first, and then how do they interact? And that's where it gets confusing for me. And the action windows feel so much like it's kind of clunky looking because
Mhm.
like Marvel Champions is really like free flowing in how it goes, which is nice.
Yeah.
But then the clunkiness of Lord of the Rings, like maybe it kind of is nice to me as a change of pace, uh, having like that action window where I'm like, okay, now I can play.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair too, because there is like defined, like, this is when you can do X thing versus you're right, Marvel Champions. I mean, that's when I make all my rules mistakes too. It's just like, well, this is interacting with this, but how would it trigger this? And what's an instance of attack versus like an actual attack? And then I just everything falls apart for me. And
You got to win though on the Thanos retaliate situation.
that was a big day. That was a big day for
Yeah,
all of us. I just that
yeah.
that
D20
whole
wins the rules discussion.
it doesn't happen often. It doesn't happen often, but it did that time. Well, that was so, you know, that kind of well, there was first toe to toe, and then there was the retaliate one. The whole retaliate one um, started because again, somebody commented, "It's like you're playing this wrong," and I went through over and over and over, and I'm like, I don't understand how. And I talked to some rules experts I trust, and they were like, "Yeah, no, you're playing it wrong." I was like, "No, this doesn't make sense." And I was like, "Well, maybe I'm the crazy one." So then that's when I started making videos and opened a poll. I was like, "How are you all playing?" And like everyone's playing it like me. I was like, "Oh, we're all wrong together." At least I feel a little bit better.
Yeah, I uh, I don't know if this is the case for you, but it feels like when I'm making a video or when I'm streaming, every single rules thing that comes up, even if I really think I'm right, I'm always wrong.
Yes. Yeah.
That's how it
100%.
feels. And then when I'm off stream, I'm always right. And then when I'm on stream, I'm always wrong.
Yeah.
That's how
Yeah.
it feels at least.
That's when I do like some of the pre-recorded stuff on for Sundays and whatnot, like I'll play through and I'll be like, oh, I played perfectly. And then I'll panic because I'm like, there's no way I did. And I'll watch the video. I'm like, no, I think it's good. And usually it's pretty good. But you're right. The second I come on the live stream, I blame chat usually because they distract me and then I can't focus and then
Yeah,
it's
it's
just
always chat's
mistakes.
fault.
Yeah, it's just easier to blame them for everything.
It
Now,
is kind of interesting. Even if I'm
mm,
not interacting that much with chat, just like having the stream up and like thinking about, oh, like that green dot at the bottom of the OBS, is it going yellow or my frames
yep.
dropping? Like all of that's in the back of my head the whole time that I'm streaming. So,
Yeah.
so it just looks like, even if it looks like, oh, you're just making an excuse, it's like I really feel like it just has an extra thing going on in my head constantly.
Yes, there is like three things I dart between constantly. So like there's like the YouTube side things where like, you know, it has like the stream health or whatever. So like, okay, I'm checking that really fast because sometimes YouTube just does YouTube things. And then I check OBS really fast to see how that's going, usually crashing. And then I check the chat to see how that's going. And sometimes that's okay. And it's just, you're right. Like every single time I'm checking it over and over and over and over. And it's just, that gets exhausting.
Yeah. And then I don't know if this is the way you do it, but the way I read my chat is I just have OBS up on my computer because I don't have a double monitor currently.
Okay.
So then I just read chat from my OBS window.
Okay. I so when I was using Restream, it was done through the app or whatever, where you download it and there was like a program that ran. So it came up that way from bottom to top. So I would read it through there. But the problem is like when one piece of chat went to a different like if something from Twitch went over to YouTube or vice versa, like all those popped up. So I was getting a lot of double chats in there.
Oh yeah,
So
that
that
seems
gets
difficult.
confusing. Yeah, yeah, that became a lot. And then I learned how to filter it eventually, but it was still rough. Like it didn't work all the time. Um, so yeah, but no, I work off a double monitor where basically OBS is on one side with chat, and then the other side is like basically me checking Twitch and YouTube over and over and over to make sure like those aren't crashing. Because like my OBS will be like, no, 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 everything's cool, you're good. And then when I look at the actual bit rate that's being pushed out, it's like, no, you're not. Like no one can see anything and it's blurry.
I had the weirdest thing happen to me with that.
Mhm.
I so OBS, I was doing YouTube. YouTube is set up as like my primary stream in OBS, and then Twitch
Okay.
is the secondary one right now. So OBS was telling me I have zero bitrate. I have no frames going anywhere. Red dot. The stream's just totally dead. YouTube was dead. But then I went to my Twitch stream, like on like twitch.tv/during Lime, and everything was fine over there.
I
So
love it.
like from my side, OBS was like completely crashed, but then it was still working on Twitch.
My gosh. It's just yeah, it's insane. And I get that issue too where YouTube will go down, but Twitch will be fine, or vice versa. But because I'm multi-streaming through OBS, like I can't stop one without it becoming like a mess on the other side too. So it's just like, well, it's
Yeah,
awkwardly gonna have to like wait this one out. So just hang out with chat for a little bit.
yeah.
Now, is Marvel Champions you would you say obviously on your streams and your recordings, Marvel Champions is like your main game. Is that how it
Mhm.
is off stream too? Like, are you playing that a lot, or do you play a lot of other board games,
Um,
or
so
do you just not play
actually,
board games off stream because you're learning?
yeah, I'm sort of the black sheep of the community here, but I don't really play board games.
Okay,
Yeah, so like Marvel Champions is the first board/card game you want to say, whatever you want to say, that I actually started playing.
that's awesome. That was your first.
Yeah, because like it was the only one I played consistently, other than like like Monopoly night with my
Sure.
family or, but it's kind of different than that.
Yeah.
So like, but so I played video games before that,
Yeah.
which when I was a little kid, I was playing Halo. Like,
Mm,
so I played a bunch of Halo when I was really young. So I got Halo 1 came out when I was 3, and my dad was letting me play it. So
nice.
I was playing Halo 1 from 3 onward, and then it turns out that when you build up a bunch of muscle memory for a video game starting at the age of 3, by the time you get to 9, you're unbeatable.
That's
So like
amazing.
Halo 3 came out, um yeah, because around the time I was 8 or 9, like no one in my family or like my friends could ever like even get like one kill on me at that point. So I was playing ranked Halo 3.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if anyone one that played Halo 3 will remember like the number system in the ranks, and then
Yeah.
like Lone Wolves was the hard one.
Okay.
So I was ranked 45 out of 50, which 50 was the max rank in the like skill progression system you could get when I was 9. And then yeah, I just kept playing video games, and then it moved. But then video games eventually just turned. It kind of always has been this way with me, is that games in general have just been a way for me to hang out with my friends.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then, like Discord comes out and all that stuff. So then, and I moved away for college,
Hmm.
etc. My friends moved away. We all like split up after high school. So then video games is just how I kept talking to my friends. So we played a lot of League of Legends and some Risk of Rain
Hmm.
and stuff like that. And then yeah, it really was almost no board games until Marvel Champions for me.
That's crazy. That's awesome
And
though.
then, but recently I've been getting into board games more because I play them a lot with Paulina.
Okay.
Paulina doesn't play. doesn't play like competitive multiplayer games all that much,
Mhm.
or video games. She plays mostly like Skyrim and Stardew Valley and
Okay.
stuff like that. It's like story based and like solo most of the time.
Yeah.
But we play board games together all the time. So that's been expanding a little bit. So I
Okay.
recently got for my birthday, we got Marvel Zombies, which has been
Nice.
super fun so far. Yeah, it's really nice cuz like Marvel Champions is a card game to
Mhm.
me. Like it's like it replaces Yu-Gi-Oh and Magic the Gathering for me.
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
But then Marvel Zombies is just like it feels like a board game and not a card game to me. Like it feels
Mhm.
like, oh, this is just like so much better than Risk or Monopoly or Sorry or or whatever I
Yeah.
used to associate board games with. And then it has like a little bit of card game mixed in with that, and it's been super fun so far. Like outside of Marvel Champions, Marvel Zombies so far has been like my favorite board game.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, it's good you take your time into the hobby because a lot of us will dive right in and then we'll be like, backing 50 Kickstarters, losing all of our money, and then you're just
Yeah.
overwhelmed because it takes up all this space, and you're just like, God, I can't do anything with all of it. So, um, but no, that's awesome, dude. That's crazy. I
Yeah.
I was also a video game player when I was young, and I had to look up when Halo 1 came out. You are young. Holy cow. I feel so old right now all of a sudden, because when I was young, Legend of Zelda, A Link to the Past was what just came out when I was 3 or 4, I think, and that's what I played. And I'm the same as your girlfriend, where I play a lot of solo based video games, and that's why I love solo board games because I like to just kind of tune out and do my own thing. Um, but yeah, that's the same with me when all my friends and I split up for college because I moved kind of far away from my hometown. We played a lot of Diablo. At that time, it was Diablo 2 and 3. So we did a lot of that because I'm just not good at first person shooters. I'm just
I can
terrible.
picture the logo in my head, but I can't pick I don't think I ever played it.
Diablo, don't ever play it. It's such a time sink. Like you just lose everything because it's just about like grinding over and over and over, like making very slow amounts of progress. Like I don't know why I thought this was fun. I mean, I still play Diablo 4 and I don't know why I enjoy it, but it's just like exhausting.
Yeah.
Oh well. And then, I remember in high school we used to play all the time throughout the entire night. And I'm pretty sure I could have gotten to a better university. I mean, I got into a good one, but could have gotten a better
Yeah.
school if I had, focused a little bit more. So, oh well.
Yeah, I for some reason when after high school, like I was really set up to go to like a bunch of good universities,
Mhm.
but I just didn't ever motivate myself to like fill out the applications. Cause like I graduated as a valedictorian at my high school,
Oh, okay.
and
Nice.
and then I just went to college in the same town that that I grew up in because I just didn't apply anywhere.
Hmm.
So like I don't know, it's been weird for me with that whole academic path because I've just been like sort of going it almost feels like I've been going through like school's been doing me, not me doing school. And I've just sort of progressed through it against my will. And then but recently that has changed a bit. So like with graduate school, like I do feel like this is it's like the first time that I've felt through the whole process I've been engaged with what I'm doing,
Hmm.
which is nice. But also last term combining like the really hard coursework I was doing with my YouTube channel and then having any sort of life outside of that, that was like impossible.
Yeah. Yeah,
That
that
was
gets rough.
it was really bad. Yeah,
Well,
because it was like 70 to 80 hours a week of like schoolwork and homework,
yeah.
and then yeah, it was so bad. I didn't get a single day off even on the weekends like the whole term.
Yeah. Ugh, yeah, it's rough. I mean, luckily though, with ME mechanical engineering, you'll do well after the fact because I eventually went to Purdue, where it's all
I see
engineers.
pressure
Yeah, yeah,
for the Purdue.
yeah. That's whenever I tell people I went there, they're like, "Oh, so you're an engineer?" I was like, "No, I was one of the other people that did not study engineering." And they're like, "Oh, so you did like science based?" And I was like, "No." I didn't do any of that, so oh well. But no, a bunch of my friends were mechanical engineer majors, and yeah, I know how much work that they had to go through at the time and how exhausting it was. So that's why it's impressive that you stick with the YouTube channel and the live streaming and doing it all. Like that's good on you, man.
Yeah. Well, part of it is that my whole life through school, like through the physics undergrad, which
Hmm.
also wasn't easy, and then into this, it I never did sacrifice at least some amount of time
Okay.
going to me doing something I enjoy.
Hmm.
So like that's sort of also when I for a little bit the other term that was really bad, I was sacrificing doing stuff I enjoy to
Yeah.
like try to get stuff done. But then I noticed like after a couple of weeks of doing that that it wasn't actually improving my output. So
Mm.
like like starting the day at like 8 or 9 a.m. on homework and then you actually don't stop until like 2 a.m.
Yeah.
doesn't increase my output any more than starting at 8 or 9 and then working on it till like 9 p.m. and then doing something for 2 hours that I actually like after like before I go to bed.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
I so part of it is that like I just and then the YouTube channel with all the board card games, like I'm not really playing Marvel Champions off stream anymore.
Right.
It's like almost like recently my friend Johnny, who's been on like the last couple of my videos, uh picked up Marvel Champions and he's big. He's been into board games his whole life pretty
Okay.
much. So he's like he was really into like Wingspan and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And then he played Marvel Champions with me and I was like, "Man, that's all right." But then at one like at a certain point it like clicked for him and then he just thinks it's the best thing ever now. So
Hmm.
now he's down to play it all the time and he's like building decks and like sending me his decks and stuff and then we're playing through a bunch of campaigns. So now I actually am playing a bit more off stream, but you'll
Okay.
notice that I am posting less videos on my channel now because I am playing off stream. But it's turned into that like little podcast thing I have with him where I'm that's been really fun because like he's a brand new player to Marvel Champions that's played board games his whole life. And
Yeah.
then I'm someone who hasn't played board games my whole life but has played a bunch of Marvel Champions and then we get to like share our different experiences on there and that's been cool.
Yeah, that's really neat, dude. I love it.
He's dubbed himself as the villain of my channel and goes by the Grim Rule. So he's
Well,
always just trying to find rules mistakes I make and stuff now.
I love it. Well, that's the thing too. Like, when you do these channels and stuff, like it's really hard to stay on a quote unquote like narrow path with it. Like you start expanding it, you start doing other things, and it's like good, right? Like good stuff comes out of it, and it's interesting stuff. And for me personally too, like I mean, there are times I'm just like, man, I don't want to do this anymore. But we start trying something else, trying something different. I'm like, oh yeah, this is fun, right? I do enjoy this. It's cool. So,
Yeah. I haven't had the full like burnout stuff people talk about yet
mm,
because I mean I'm still like I don't even think I don't I'd have to look, but I'm definitely nowhere close to 2 years and I'm not even sure I've been doing this for a year yet.
yeah,
But like it's getting close to a year. But yeah, I've had many burnouts, but not a full burnout where I'm like completely dreading making a video. It's just a couple times it's been like, oh, I'm kind of tired and I have to get this done for my research.
hmm.
But also Magneto just come out came out. Not Magneto. I was really excited to make the Magneto stuff,
Yeah.
but also like things like that come up. Like I skipped the whole covering anything on Shield
Okay.
during all that. Also because like you and Nelson and Villain Theory were doing such a good job at it that I was like, you know what, I can just pass it. Because I tuned in and I saw the announcement and then I went on YouTube. I'm like, okay, so there's like 400 people watching the live streams between these two channels. I don't think I'm gonna add much to that.
I mean, maybe. I mean, you was funny too is when the shield stuff was done, I had a slow day at work and my son was finally off in kindergarten, so I was just like, okay, cool, like I can just hop on a live stream. I don't know how this is gonna do, like maybe some people will show up, whatever. And then it was like 125 people on YouTube, and like Twitch was like 30, 40. I was like, oh, I guess people like this. And like they weren't even talking to me in chat, they were just yelling at each other about their different opinions and who they thought the shadows were, and that's it. And I was like, oh, you guys are just doing your own thing, you just went somewhere else to do it, okay.
I haven't kept up on the shadows business. I remember seeing people arguing about it though. And then
Yeah.
I looked at one of the shadows and I'm like, I don't know why people are saying that's this person because like I'm pretty sure that's Silk, but I haven't
Mm.
followed up on it since then.
Yeah, I know the second one I've just kind of like, I know people are still arguing to this day, and I'm like, yeah, whatever it is. Like I'm excited for it. But I know
One of
people are,
them looked like Shuri when I was looking at it.
yeah, yeah, I think the first one's definitely Shuri. And the last two, people were trying to argue that Winter Soldier and Falcon won't be in there. And I was like, I don't understand how you do a shield wave and they're not in there. So it's got to
Well,
be them.
they might be a hero pack though,
Well,
because
that's
like
what they
the
would be.
like
Yeah.
Winter Soldier might be like they usually save all the like big heroes for the packs, right?
Yeah. So the four images were for the four hero packs that will come out, right? So it's
Oh,
like Shuri, something else, and then my guess is Falcon and Winter Soldier will be the last hero pack.
yeah.
So we'll see.
I'm curious.
Yeah,
I haven't spoiled anything about the shield wave really for myself.
that's it's a good way to do it. It's a delicate balance because like I know people are really into it. Like I haven't even looked at most of the Magneto cards that have been released. Um,
I haven't either.
yeah, I just because again, I do stuff for like Patreon and whatever and YouTube where it's just like if you're a certain tier, right? Like it's like me like my hot takes and opening or whatever, and I know people like that. But at the same as that time, it's just like, oh, like people will come in the chat and be like, what do you think about this card? I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about because I didn't look at any of it yet. And I'm not good like a lot of you all are very good like visualizing cards and decks and like, oh, this will work well with here and this will do this and this will combo well. Like I can't do it. I need to like physically have it out there and try it and then fail and go, oh, okay, that's why it failed, you know?
Yeah. My the card that I the two cards I got were crazy
Yeah.
for the reveal. Like Children of the Atom, I I wouldn't have picked a different card. If I could hand pick the ones I picked to
Mm.
reveal, I would not have picked a different one.
No, I feel like they gave all the content creators like things that really make sense for like each of them. Like, I mean, obviously they gave me the Shadow of the Past one, which
Yeah,
I
that
was
was
just like,
hilarious.
my God. They when they first reached out to me and they're like, yeah, we want to work with you. I was like, all right, awesome. And they sent me the cards and I'm sitting there just staring at it. And I'm like, they are trolling me. Like, there's no doubt in my mind that
You
they
check to
made up
see if
this
it was
card.
April 1st or not.
Yeah, right. I'm like, let me go back and make sure this email is actually from Fantasy Flight Games and look this person up because it's some fan that's just like upset and like trolling me. Like, there's no way this is legitimate. And then I was like, I don't know. Guess it is.
Yeah, because that's the one you got the one where it's like you get to like put the your nemesis minion
Yeah,
into play.
and draw some
Or-
cards and ready up and whatnot. And I was just like, oh my god, I can't believe this is a design space now. But perfect. It's perfect for me.
are you gonna use it?
Oh yeah, all the time,
It
all the
doesn't.
time.
It does Shadow. I can't remember. Does Shadow of the Past reveal your set aside nemesis minion or just your nemesis minion?
All of it. So if
Okay, so you can't skip
well,
it.
wait. No, I take that back. It only does your set aside nemesis because if it doesn't do it regularly, the card surges, which is always the
Okay,
line everyone forgets at the bottom. So yeah, no, it's only set aside. And then if you do this new card, I think it's set aside or reveal or whatever. It's like all of it, but you won't have to put in like your side scheme and obviously that stuff either. So
yeah. So you can get to Shadow of the Past before it gets to you.
yeah, right. I'm just
Well, I
gonna.
don't know. You always get at turn one. So then I don't know. Are you gonna draw your other one turn one, or is that one gonna be cursed to be at the bottom of your deck every time?
That's probably how it's gonna work for me, right? It's like I'm gonna want it to do this, and the game's gonna be like, nope, not today. I was like, oh my god. Well, that was the funny thing with Standard 3 because I know a lot of people like Standard 3, and I seem to get Shadow of the Past or not Shadow of the Past. I seem to get my Nemesis less with Standard 3 because I rush through the game so much. Like I'm a quick player in general,
Yeah.
and I can usually beat the game before I get my 4 counters. So I'm just like, oh, like I don't even get my nemesis as much. Like that's, I guess, fine.
Yeah, what? Okay, this is a question I've been wondering about for you.
Sure.
Is how did your like play style develop and your favorite heroes evolve over time and stuff like that?
All right. So I got into the game. Let me think. Right, probably right around Rise of Red Skull. I want to say maybe a little before, a little after it. I'm not 100% sure. Um, and so all like all the heroes out for that first wave was like Captain America, Doctor Strange, all of them. And I always played solo, like 99% of the time. Like I had a buddy that would play now and again, but it was basically played solo. So in doing so, especially that early on in the game, you couldn't really do anything but justice. So it's like, okay, so I just played a lot of justice. Then basically we figured out that, oh, you can get really aggressive with rush strategy with just like winning in 3 turns. So I would do that a bit, which was really boring, but you could do it. And then I remember playing Strange for the
What
very first
cards
time.
enabled that?
What was it? It
What?
was
Yeah, because like
um
with the core box, it's still a little hard because like you only have like uppercut, right?
yeah, so you had uppercut. Yeah, you had 3 for 5, and if you ran all of them with the double resources, and then Yarnborn came out pretty early too. I think that was in
Oh,
Thor's
yeah.
deck. So then allowed you to swing and then follow up basically, and then just yeah play your uppercuts. Were the big thing, and then running Nick Fury but dealing 4 damage instead of drawing cards was like the other part of it. Like it was like a very like there was like 3 decks you could run basically, and that's it. Um, so yeah, so we would do that, and then I remember the first time I played Doctor Strange too. I'll never forget it because I wasn't big on the online space yet for Marvel Champions. Like I kind of glanced at things and whatever. I remember playing it the very first time. I was like, oh my god, this guy's so boring. Like it just like I'm running through this invocation deck and that's it. I'm like I don't hate it, but like it just doesn't seem fun to me. And I went online because I was like, I wonder what other people think. I was like, I wonder if they hate him as much as me. And no, they did not hate him. And like everyone loved
Yeah.
him and thought it was great. I was like, okay, I guess that's just a me thing. And then I remember, you know, I played all the other heroes and I was like, yeah, I like all these. I was bad with Miss Marvel because I didn't understand timing yet. I was really bad with timing of like when her response triggers. So I didn't really get her in the beginning, and took time. I didn't mind. And I remember actually, wait, back up for a second. I remember when Hulk came out, when I first got Hulk, and his ability made you discard all your cards right at the end. And then I realized that day, oh, I've been playing Marvel Champions wrong. I thought you had to discard all your cards at the end of every single round. So I was like, I don't see why this ability is so bad or why they have to spell this out. This makes no sense to me.
So you're already playing on hard mode.
I was
Just
already doing Hulk. I was already doing it, so it wasn't that big of a deal to me. So, and then yeah,
it's really
so
funny.
it was eye opening because I went back to some of the other heroes. I was like, oh, I've been playing this really. I think I've been making my life harder than it had to be. And I did the whole when I first played. I did
Yeah, like
stage.
Spider-Man can hold his backflip type thing.
Yeah, I was like, oh god, I need to draw this at the right time, and now I'm just throwing away backflip like it's such a waste. And like, why is this card even here? It was a mess. Um, and then
It's really funny.
I also did stage 1, 2, and 3. So when I first played, which isn't as hard as it sounds because you're really built out for stage 3. So it's just like you can really rock and roll and win easily. But it made my games much longer than they had to be for sure.
I'll reveal some of my rules
Yeah.
mistakes. So when I first started playing, it's like I don't know if I was doing this on the core box because it was a long time ago, but when I was first playing through the Mad Titan's Shadow
Hmm.
after um after like starting up again, I remember getting completely stuck on Thanos.
Hmm.
And that was because I was playing in two player on this like modified difficulty
Hmm.
that didn't really make any sense. So we were playing for getting to to multiply the health per player,
Okay.
but every time a boost card was flipped up, doing the win revealed effect.
Oh.
So it sort of balanced out until we got to Thanos. And then Thanos had enough health to where it didn't we couldn't just like reliably rush him down
Yeah.
like that quickly because he has like 20 something health so per player. So like still over 20 health, but then when he's doing the win revealed on all his boost cards and the Infinity Gauntlets is out, that was really bad.
It's hilarious, dude. And like it's funny too, because like I'll see on Reddit or Facebook or whatever, like people like asking really basic questions, and people will be like, "Oh, you should read the rule book and blah blah." And it's like, bro, like I read the rule book and I messed up. Like new players are gonna make these errors. Like
There's a 4.5 hour video of me reading the entire rules reference, and then I still make mistakes.
I watched like a solid hour of that because I was like, surely he's not actually going to read the entire rule book. And like an hour into it, I was like, oh man, he's really going for it.
Yeah, because I was like, I was thinking like I need to read this for myself because
Okay.
I have to know the rules better because I'm making videos about the game.
Mhm.
And then I was like, why would I ever sit down and read this whole thing without filming it?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
did,
because
did you at one point, like anywhere in it, just go like, I've made a terrible mistake. I should have never done this video.
um, so the I split it up into multiple recording sessions.
Yeah.
The first recording session, I like felt like I was gonna pass out because my recording setup I was like reading it on my monitor, but my monitor is on the back of my desk so that I don't um like cover up my board while I'm
Yeah.
playing. And I didn't move my monitor. So I was reading it and the font was really small. So I was like having to focus really hard to read it. And then it was just like surprisingly high mental exhaustion. And I had just like actually almost passed out by the time I hit the stop recording button. And then the times after that, I moved the monitor closer to me and I like could read twice as long.
There you go.
But yeah, I was questioning it when I was like seeing stars and stuff and
Yeah, I can imagine. And I assume there's like some point too, like, 'cause I don't know if you ever get like this, but I do certain longer videos, and like halfway through the video, I'm like, I want to quit, but I can't because I literally just wasted all this time, doing it. So I
yeah.
have to finish.
And also, I wasn't like I wasn't thinking about that. I wasn't managing my breath properly for the first recording of it. So I was like reading a whole bullet and then running out of breath and then starting the next one because I was like, I don't want this video to be that long. And I don't
Yeah,
want to edit out all of my like taking a second to breathe between the rules.
yeah.
So like I was like just I was that's why I was gonna pass out. I was basically being suffocated by the rules.
That's hilarious, dude. And you know what's funny is like a while back, I had a rough idea. It's like, oh, I should go through the rule book and just do like the key like issues with it. And I've listed out like 30, 40 things. And I remember recording like a chunk of it. And I made it through like 3 or 4 issues. And it took like 20 minutes. And I was like, oh no, this is not gonna be a video. Like I need to interweave this with other things. So when I saw you do, I was like, God, he actually did. That crazy son of a gun did.
Yeah, it was a lot. I was it was a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
'Cause, like, you'll notice, like, at the beginning of the video, I, like, went through, like, the timing chart of, like, Spider-Man and Claw,
Hmm.
which was funny because I just had them out as my example villains because 'cause I'm like, "These 2 kits have, like, everything that I'll probably need to talk about."
Yeah.
But then going through and actually following it exactly in the order of, like, when Spider-Man draws his card and when Claw gets his first boost card and his second boost card and when those get flipped up and all that was, like, surprisingly a lot, and I had to re-record that, like, 4 times because like, when I play Claw, I normally just draw the card with Spider-Man, grab 2 boost cards off the top, flip them up 1 at a time.
Yeah.
But then when I'm explaining, like, okay, he initiated the attack, but he hasn't attacked me yet, which Spider-Man gets the card, and then you check his like attack, and then you deal 1 boost card to him. But then after that is when his forced interrupt triggers, which then causes that. It was way more complicated than I was expecting it to be, and I messed it up 3 times.
No, it's hilarious because like you're right. Like even with like simple rules stuff like that, we are so automatic with it that we just innately understand what's going on. But like as a new player, I'm sure they're looking and be like, "Wow, wait, there's you have to interrupt, you have to do this and that." It's like no, it's much simpler. It's just like just do it this way, it'll be fine.
Yeah, but then I was trying to do it perfect for I don't know that like video series I have on my channel where it's like 10 rules mistakes that
Hmm.
like will make it easier for you to win.
Yeah.
Those are a lot easier, a lot more fun, and do a lot better than that. Just reading the whole rule book.
Yeah, yeah. And I remember I think you posted on like Reddit or something too, that long video. And I remember just people's response were like, surely he's not actually gonna do it. And then yep, he did.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then you have to run it too, like I've always thought about this with live streaming. I've just like, so there's certain big creators that do this, and I don't know if it would actually work in our space or not, but like they'll do reruns of live streams so like the community can hang out with itself. So basically, you just go live, but you're not doing anything, you're just basically playing your YouTube videos and that's it and whatever. And I feel like that as a YouTube or a YouTube rerun live stream, whatever you want to call it, could do really well for you, where
Yeah,
people just hang
where
out and like argue
it's
about the rules as you're going through it.
yeah, it's just former during Lime, just reading all the rules and everyone arguing about it as it comes up, and then
Yeah.
I'm in there just like eating my popcorn, like chipping in every once in a while.
Yeah, just watching the background, just hang out.
Yeah, that could work.
It's an idea I've had for a while, and I've floated it to my chat a few times, and they're like, "Yeah, it's really great," and other people are like, "That's a terrible idea. Don't ever do that." I was like, "Wow, there's really no in between here, so I don't know what to do yet." But it's
You could make something similar around me reading the rules if you want.
sure, I'll just play your videos, and maybe we'll see if anyone notices.
Yeah, that'd be funny because I don't know, cause I think that would actually be useful though if because like it was a burden having like an audiobook of the rules.
hmm
That was a big burden. So like if people want to use it for anything to make it more palatable for people, I would totally be for that.
Maybe I could react through your rules and just do react videos, and that would get me like, I mean, 4 hours worth of content, so that's a
Yeah,
lot.
well, 4.5 was just
For-
the video playing, so we're
yeah,
talking like 6 hours.
just days. No, that's hilarious. So yeah, so with your channel, are you planning to like expand out to other games? Like, have you really done other games besides Marvel Champions, or you just like just doing
I
Marvel Champions
played
now?
one game of Teamfight Tactics on my channel,
Okay.
and like one game of Legends of Runeterra on my channel, and then a couple games of Frosthaven on my channel. But that's it.
How'd you like Frosthaven?
It is really cool, but it's just the setup is
Mm,
a lot every time, and since I don't have very much space in a studio apartment, I
yeah.
don't have it set up all the time. So I feel like if I ever have like a house and like a room where there's games, I could leave Frosthaven set up and I'd actually return to it more.
hmm
Because mechanically, it's one of my favorite games. Like I think the mechanics of how the combat actually works is I like it just as much as Marvel Champions, and certain
Okay.
things I like about it more, and certain things less. But that's so fun to me. Of like, you have a teammate, but you can't like communicate exactly what you're planning on doing.
Yeah.
So like, I can be like, "Hey, I'm planning on attacking," but then you have to choose an initiative order card,
Yeah.
and then we both choose independently. And then like, if I needed to go first, I have to like choose from my hand the card of the high initiative order, even if it's not necessarily the best play, but I need the initiative order to get my other card to work.
Right.
I really like that. And then just like I don't know, because this is sort of how I feel about games is I prefer games to be as simple as possible with
hmm
as many decisions as possible.
Yeah.
So like minimizing complications while maximizing choice is my favorite. That's how I prefer games, and Frosthaven um does a really good job at that in my opinion.
Yeah, we never played Frosthaven, not yet. We have, or we don't have it. My buddy has it. But we played Gloomhaven. I know the mechanics are pretty similar, and that was one of the nice things. Is like once you got into the game, you're right past setup because that was like a 2 hour adventure each time.
Yeah,
But once you got into the core of the game, it's like, oh, this is like very straightforward, right? Like it's very simple. And
yeah,
we liked that part of it, but I remember when it was like quote unquote sold to us, they're like, oh, it's like Dungeons and Dragons without the DM. And that's true to a point, but like it felt like outside of combat, like the story narrative part was much more limited than we would have liked. Cause like D&D, like you spend a lot of time outside of combat. Like that, you spend more time probably outside of combat than anything else. And I felt like Gloomhaven was just kind of getting you back into combat because that's obviously where the most stuff happens. So that
Yeah.
wasn't bad, but it was just like kind of not what we quite
Yeah,
expected.
not what you were expecting. My friend
Yeah.
Johnny, the Grim Rule on my podcast, is
Mm,
a dungeon master for a campaign we're going through.
that's awesome.
Yeah, and yeah, it's my first D&D campaign I've ever done because I play. I'm like an iPad kid of D&D.
Okay.
I started on Baldur's Gate,
Nice. It's a
so
good game.
that was my first introduction to it. Was just
Yeah.
playing through Baldur's Gate.
how
I
do, how
had
do
this
you how do you like it so far, D&D?
D&D is really nice.
Mm,
It's something I wish I would have done earlier in my life and with my friends because again, like my favorite part about playing games is just like hanging out with my
yeah.
friends, and D&D feels like the perfect game to do that.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. It's well, we started doing it a long before kids, before any of our friend group had kids, and it was so much fun because it's just like to me the coolest part is like really getting in the mindset of whatever your character is. And I remember mine was just like a jerk who like didn't listen to anyone and like kind of did his own thing. And like usually in like board games and co-op games, I like working with my teammates and whatever. But this, I was like, nope, I'm just gonna run in and do my own thing and just screw everyone up, like Leroy Jenkins it for everything. And they would get so
That video
frustrated.
was formative for me.
Dude, that
The
was
Leroy Jenkins one.
I remember when that video came out when I was in high school and we could not stop laughing. It was like, one of the first like internet videos that was like out there and whatnot. It
Yeah,
was just like, oh my God.
I don't think it was right when it came out, but the first time I saw it, I think I was 13. I
Okay.
think it was kind of old at that point, though.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it was we did a little bit of World of Warcraft, but I couldn't keep up with the monthly subscription fee because I was like a young kid and just couldn't afford it. But yeah, I remember when that came out. And I had a group of friends that were really into World of Warcraft, so it was just they loved it, and then they had to like fill me in, like, no, it's really hard to get to this point in the game. I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. But
Yeah.
but yeah, it's like I said, D&D is good. It's a really, really fun time. Really enjoyable. And it's unfortunately one that we don't do as much anymore. We wish we did, but we just don't have time. It's another one of those things like it's easy to set up and whatnot, but you need to dedicate like hours to it, you know?
Yeah. I've been wondering this about your channel because I wasn't
Sure.
there at the beginning.
hmm
But how did Valkyrie become the goat?
All right. So in the beginning, I first got her and I played her, and because I was more of a faster tempo player, she just clicked with me. So what she was trying to do was exactly what I normally do. And I was like, oh, this is really strong and good. And it basically, very long story short, is I would play her on stream. It did well. I would talk about her, and everyone was just hating on her, like hating on her early on Reddit and Facebook. And I was like, no, like that's just not true. Like, come to my stream. And this is actually why I think a lot of people started coming to my stream because I would play her early on and be like, nope, see, she works. She's fine. She's fine. They're like, well, now make her do protection. And I was like, well, why would I do that? Like, she's not good at that. So I'm not going to do that just because you want to play protection. Like, pick a protection hero. And they're like, well, you should play her then in this way or in that way. I was like, no, like she's good at this thing. Do that. So
Yeah.
I kept winning with her over and over. And then we did I can't remember if it was the 8-hour stream or the 12-hour stream, but one of the longer streams, um, I rushed through, well, maybe it wasn't those. It was some long stream. I remember I had to rush through like the core box with her, and I did super fast. And then, it was easy because she's good at rushing anyway. So then that's when I don't know if it was me or chat, which is like, oh my God, well, she's obviously the GOAT then because she can like easy this core box so fast. And I was like, oh yeah. And then it just kind of spiraled from there of that's when it
Yeah.
was first like really mentioned. And then of course, like I remember I did that and then people were just, I remember when I did the one video with her rushing through the core box and beating everyone in like under 2 hours. And I was like, oh, it's so good. And they're like, oh, well, that's not that hard. Like you should have done it this way instead. And it's like, whoa, 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 it's not that hard. Like you just told me she couldn't beat anybody. Like she's such trash. She can't do anything. So then people started moving the goalposts. And then it just became like a thing that I was like, well, I'm not going to let this go. And just have Spike kept playing her and kept calling her the GOAT. So
I
that's
like
kind of how
that.
that went. Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
the moving goalpost because no one will just have a balanced take on her.
Oh my god, no, no. It's all the time. It happens, and that's part of the reason why I'm not really on Reddit anymore. Is people just nitpick things, and it's like, look, I get it. Like, especially if I don't like if your favorite hero is Doctor Strange, like that's cool. Like, that's whatever. I just don't like him, and people are like, well, that must be because you're not doing it right. I don't think that really has anything to do with it, but sure.
One of the most fun videos I did on my channel, it was like during all the whole Doctor Strange drama on Web
Mhm.
Warrior Fanatics channel.
Okay,
Like
yeah.
I didn't like jump all the way into the drama of that, but I had been planning to do a video about him for a while, and it just felt like the right time.
Mhm.
Because people are like, you just cycle through the invocation deck, and that's why he's strong.
Yeah,
Then I was like, I think people are underrating how powerful the rest of his kit is.
yeah.
So for on my channel, I made a video beating Claw on Expert without using the invocation deck,
That's cool.
and then that was just super fun to me because like his his cape was just readying him up, and I played Justice, and increased his thwart. I
Mhm.
think I increased his thwart to 3. I don't remember. It was a while ago, but either way, I was able to finish every side scheme because I could ready up thwart twice, and then play like I was using oh that's what it was. I was using his magical enhancements card to buff up his stats for the whole round, and then
Oh, okay.
readying with his cloak. So I was getting 3 thwart from him, or 3 thwart to attack, and then also blocking for 3 because it lasts the whole round. And I was like, that's pretty good.
Yeah,
Yeah, I had
yeah.
so much fun with that.
That's really like to me like some of the best parts of streaming and YouTube is like I'm just playing the game is fine and fun and whatever, but like doing exactly that, like doing the challenge stuff, I always think is like kind of interesting and like there's been times I've chat says like, well, play this hero without using X amount of cards or whatever, or certain cards. Like that stuff is always fun and like interesting to try out.
Yeah.
And I remember early on, one of the first things they were like, well, the basic cards aren't that good, and Wasp had just come out. And I was like, well, no, the basic cards are really bonkers now because of what's going on. And they're like, well, no, like, the aspect color always carries. And I was like, well, then let's play a game where we just do a basic deck. And, people realized that you could just do that you could just have zero of aggression aspect cards in there. And we started doing basic cards, and with the power in all of us, I was just paying for everything so easily, and I was like, no,
Yeah.
this is like really powerful stuff. And that's when people started realizing, and I'm sure people are realizing it regardless. I think I was just one of the first YouTubers that kind of pointed out. But like anyway, that type of video and creating that type of content was always fun and interesting because like you're just doing something different and unique and kind of holding yourself back or making yourself play differently. I always thought was cool.
Yeah, that brings up two things that are exciting. The I made a video not that long ago because like I'm obviously really late to the party because
Mm,
I didn't start making videos till like less than a year ago, and also didn't start playing until like I don't know, I've been playing for like roughly 2 years.
okay.
Yeah, like a year and a half, 2 years is how long I've been playing, and I wasn't on the internet at all really until I started making videos. And so like I have no idea about the history of how things evolved. But I made
Mm,
a video about how powerful the basic aspect seems to me.
yeah.
And I'm like, this is crazy. Allies are like the strongest card type in the game.
Hmm.
Nick Fury and Ironheart and like Spider-Man Miles Morales, and then all those like trait locked cards and the X-Men and the Web Warriors and the Guardians are all basic. All
Hmm.
your economy supports come from basic. You have 3 double resources and the power in all of us from basic. Like, you don't need anything else at this
Yeah.
point in the game. Like, if you just build up if you play that way where you wanna just, like, play the Mansion and the Helicarrier and the Quinn Carrier and then Nick Fury and the allies and then your hero kit for the rest of everything else.
Yep.
Yeah, which was interesting because like, I feel like especially with X-Men, like, X-Men in particular, I'm like, the aspect is often secondary because I'm like,
Mm.
okay, I'm planning on trying to beat insert random expert villain, and then it's like, okay, how do I do that? Well, I'll probably need Professor X. I'll probably need to have Utopia.
Yeah.
Probably need the X Jet, okay, I have all these basic cards, so I might as well add in like I don't know, like the power in all of us because I have so many basic allies. Beak came out, so it's like okay, I need to run even more basic X-Men allies. And then Triage came out, I'm like okay, I don't have to flip down to Alter Ego anymore.
Yeah.
and, and then yeah, it just was crazy. And then it's like okay, now what do I do? I have 3 slots left in my deck. Okay, I'll add 3, make the calls, then move on. Got
It's
to get the
great.
basic cards back.
Yeah, right, exactly. Well, it's funny too because I for a while I was running too many basic cards like in all my decks. Like all my decks were looking the same, right? Because it's exactly what you said. Like I just all right, we're running Nick, we're running Power and All of Us, whatever, whatever. So I had to force myself to stop using basic cards and start using aspect cards. And for a while I was like, oh my god, this is really hard because I want to use like Nick Fury or whatever, and like I can't. So if you want an
Nick
interesting
Fury Heroes
challenge,
on
try
the
that.
way.
I know. I think he's gonna nerf the game basically.
Yeah, and then wait, there was another thing. Oh, it was the core box stuff that I've been doing on my
Hmm.
channel. That has completely reshaped how I view the game. It's because I'm gonna talk about this more and like because like I'm starting my progression series by doing like a review of the core box, coming
Okay.
back to it after I've been playing.
Yeah.
But it was crazy to me because like I was struggling on standard in every scenario with
Okay.
that. And then I was like so stressed out. I was like, I never figured out how to play Iron Man. He just took too long to set up. I
Yeah.
am gonna get bopped by Ultron. So I was like, okay, I'll just do it. I'll just play Ultron on expert in solo with the Modok modular and Iron Man's precon deck. And then I just totally won with like no difficulty at all in that game. And I'm like, wait a second, what's happening here?
You're
Because
just
it
too
was
much of
just
a
Iron
skilled
Man.
player.
It was just that I it was like my limitations that I thought I was solving with deck building early
Mhm.
on. Because I was like, okay, this is a deck building game, so obviously I need to build better decks if I'm gonna win. Like it was partly that, but also it was just not making the correct decisions when I was playing the game,
Yeah.
and then not being able to manage minions, threat, and setting up Iron Man's suit,
Hmm.
which was interesting. So like in those playthroughs I had, Iron Man, Captain Marvel, Black Panther. Um, so like I guess Captain Marvel and Black Panther could handle every single scenario on expert
Hmm.
with their precon decks.
Okay.
Iron Man countered Ultron and had a kind of difficult matchup against Rhino and got completely annihilated by Claw. Which that was something I wasn't expecting because like Ultron is like the big boss, you know.
Yeah.
But I lost. I was having like with Iron Man in particular, he counters Ultron because you can, which I didn't realize that Iron Man in solo with his precon would counter Ultron when I started this. But the second main scheme for Ultron is thick enough to where you can set up your suit, and then with both your gauntlets and your like 17 hit points and your arc reactor, meaning you can thwart whatever you need to,
Yeah.
and your 7 hand size, it's just over at that point
Huh.
when you play Iron Man. And like Ultron, he actually has time to scale up. Whereas before when I was playing, I was like, okay, if I can't beat Claw with Iron Man, I'm never gonna be able to beat Ultron. But that wasn't actually the case because then when you play Claw, it was so bad. It was so bad. I got the Masters of Evil minion at the start, and then I had to stay. He finished his main scheme immediately, brought out another minion. I had to flip up because I'm gonna lose the second main scheme on like turn 3, and then I get brought down to like 1 health, and then the Masters of Evil side scheme comes out, which brings out another Masters of Evil minion, and then I lost to gang up. And I was like, that's crazy. Because another thing is the Masters of Evil mod set for Claw. I think like in the book it says it's not as hard as Under Attack,
It
but
is.
I have lost to Masters of Evil like almost more than anything else in this game.
Yeah. It's really
Because
rough.
like that side scheme that has an acceleration icon that also brings out a like beefy minion.
Hmm.
And then the treachery that was like, okay, I get to choose, but who do I choose? Like I usually choose Melter just because he's the lowest health, but you have to take him out that turn. And then if you can't choose Melter, and then you're in multiplayer, you can't choose whirlwind
Yep.
because then it'll just kill everyone else. And I never want radioactive man
No,
because
he's
it's
one
like
of the worst.
yeah, so it's so hard.
Yeah.
It's like claw. I don't know because also the idea of like seeing how the villains in the core box or the heroes in the core box dealt with the villains was it was totally different perception to me because
Mm.
my original perception was okay, everyone. I was also playing 2 player though, so like my perception was everyone can beat Rhino. uh Claw's a little difficult but doable, and then Ultron's impossible.
Yeah.
But now coming back and then playing it from a solo perspective, I'm like, okay, I will randomly lose to Rhino, but he's not hard. It's just I will lose just sometimes.
Yeah.
And then Claw in solo, if you get a Masters of Evil minion and then the encounter deck doesn't line up your way, is like the hardest thing in the core box. And then Ultron, you can counter him if you play it correct. But
Mhm.
also he's really hard. It's like Spider-Man Peter Parker, like again, I wasn't even editing the precons, so
Okay.
Spider-Man I lost to both Claw and Ultron on expert.
Okay.
But it was to the point where like I almost won and wait, no, sorry. I beat Claw, but I beat Claw and Rhino with Spider-Man, but lost to Ultron with both leadership and justice precons.
Mhm.
But it was pretty close both times. So it was to the point where like had things gone a little better, I could have won, or if I just edited my deck to like drop the tenacity and whatever else to add in first aid to keep Daredevil alive, that type of thing,
Mhm.
I could have won. But like Spider-Man had the most even matchup to where he is like, okay, he feels like balanced for the box,
Okay.
and then Captain Marvel just kind of just slaughtered all the villains. Like it wasn't really close. It just her energy channel is just too strong.
She's
Is how
really
it
good.
feels.
Yeah.
Yeah, because her base stats are so good, and then that pattern of like, okay, I'm just gonna store 10 damage.
Yep.
Like storing 10 damage is crazy. It's like her cards, like her Cosmic Flight is okay, but like I don't play like multiple copies of it that often, and oftentimes when I play it, I don't ever use it to stay alive.
Yeah.
And then I almost never play her helmet. And then the
Yeah.
Crisis interdiction, it just every time I read that card, I'm like, but multitasking is a thing.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
just the same thing. Like I don't know, her that card. But another crazy thing was in the core box, that card saved me a couple times.
How
Like
so?
at that point in the game, because like when there was a side scheme out, thwarting
Mm.
was not like as you couldn't just get however much thwart you wanted, especially if you were playing aggression
Mhm.
or something like that with the core box. So like it was unironically the correct play for me multiple times to play Crisis Interdiction, and that was a baffling experience for me because like if I had built my decks with all the card pool, I would never be playing Crisis Interdiction. But like I have to play it right now, which was really fun. It was more fun for me playing those core box precons, going through the core box than it was building my own decks and playing hard villains.
That's
Like by
awesome.
far,
Yeah.
I had so many more decisions to make when my deck could do a little bit of everything, like those precon decks can, but
Mhm.
they can't do everything super well.
Right.
But it was so fun to play that. I'd be like, what is the correct play actually to hold on to my emergency because I will just lose if I don't? And it
Mhm.
actually was a couple, and it was so fun. Like I won a game with tenacity. It was the only way I could keep the damage off. Was using tenacity because like I was looking at the damage. I'm like, oh no, I'm 2 damage short. I had this
Yeah.
whole hand of like 7 cards because I had I had the or like six cards because I was in hero form with Avengers Mansion and the Helicarrier, and like I was thinking about like my rechannel ability, and I was like, okay, how do I get this to work? And
Yeah.
then I was like, I exhausted every option on what could work to get like the 20 whatever damage I needed, and the only way to do it was to play tenacity. It was to play tenacity, spend my double resource, my strength as the single physical that I needed to get the ready off,
Mhm.
flip down, get my card draw with the commander and the other card, and what's it called, Alpha Flight Station,
Yeah.
play Mockingbird from my hand
Oh my god.
after doing that to get the sequencing correct, because otherwise I couldn't afford the tenacity, and then get the 1 damage from Mockingbird, and that was the only way to win. Which that was so much more fun than being like, okay, so here's my 40 damage turn from this OP deck.
Yeah. And that's kind of what I run into with sometimes with deck building is like I can I now and again I get stuck in this pattern where I'll just build basically the same deck. The hero is interchangeable, and I just know that like certain cards are going to be really really strong and they're going to do great things. And whatever the hero is, it's fine. Doesn't matter. They're just going to kind of do their own thing. And I have to get myself out of that pattern. So I do like the idea of playing more precons because you're right. It's things I wouldn't normally do. You know.
Yeah, because also I'm gonna make a video about this eventually, but the core box precons are different than the other precons. Because
Mhm.
when it comes in the hero pack, you have to have like 3 copies of endurance in your deck playing solo,
Right. Yeah.
stuff like that, because everything ships with 3 copies. But with the core box precons, it's 2 offs of everything, and
Okay.
then they're and 1 offs of all the basic cards.
Huh.
So it's like it's very balanced. You have 1 emergency, 1 haymaker, 1 tenacity, 1 helicarrier, 1 mansion. So with that package, I have a ready, a 3 damage attack event, a way to remove threat, and like a and a couple economy supports that do different things.
Uh,
And then in your aspect, you have 2 of everything. So you're like you have 2 ways to thwart with chase them down. You
mhm.
have 2 haymakers to deal, or sorry, uppercuts to deal the damage, 2 tack teams, and then it's a really balanced deck across all of them,
Hmm.
which it was so fun. Which yeah, I highly recommend like to anyone that hasn't played it in a long time to go back and try that out. 'Cause it was the most fun I've had playing the game in like months. Was
That
doing that.
that's interesting. Yeah, I haven't done that in a long time because I did my like how to play video like a year ago now, and
Hmm.
I did kind of the same thing where I took the Spider-Man pre-con deck and then when it gets Claw, and as I was going through it, I was like, oh man, like this is actually like not a terrible deck. Like I expected it to be a lot worse than it was.
Yeah,
So that was
yeah. It
always
was.
interesting.
They were because I my memory of everything is clouded because it was me learning how to play the game and making horrible decisions
Yeah.
at that point. So I was like, another one is She-Hulk. I just the 4 hand size frustrated me so much
Hmm.
that I just never played She-Hulk. And then now I came back to She-Hulk. I'm like, okay, I can handle the 4 hand size now. She's still like, it still could be me being not very good at She-Hulk, but she struggled the most out of all the heroes and with the core
Yeah.
box.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like I was just getting completely defeated.
Okay.
And in 2 player, she did really well in the
Okay.
two-handed games I did. It's just she couldn't quite handle the threat removal in solo when I was playing with her.
Yeah, you really have to like flip down a ton with her to prevent threat going on and like do whatever her alter ego card is to remove threat, like I object or something like that. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, you really need to lean into that, but it's tough. Solo's always tough to flip down a ton, and that's what she wants to do.
yeah.
But
So
oh well,
she struggled a bit, but everyone else did
solid.
good. So She-Hulk and Spider-Man. Well, I don't know. You could say Spider-Man, based off my experience, you could say Spider-Man and Iron Man are equivalent because they both won 2 of the expert scenarios
Okay.
and completely countered one of them. So like Spider-Man counters Rhino,
Hmm.
and then Iron Man counters Ultron, and they both struggle against but then uh Iron Man kind of struggles against Rhino, and Spider-Man kind of struggles against Claw. So they're
Hmm.
just inverse, except Iron Man is shifted towards being better at the harder scenarios, or like however you want to view it. Harder
Yeah.
being if you view it as like Ultron's hardest, and then Claw's second hardest, and then
Yeah.
Spider-Man's better at the easy ones, and then the other two just it wasn't fair. It wasn't fair for the villains.
That's hilarious, dude. Yeah, that's cool. That's a really cool way of doing things. I like it. All right, man. Well, I appreciate taking the time to do this and talk to me today and whatnot. Just in case anybody doesn't know where to find you and whatnot, what's the best way to find you all? Find you.
Yeah. So if you go to my YouTube channel at the Daring Lime on YouTube, You can search me in the search results. There's no other Daring Lime in existence that I know about, so I should come up. And then there's a link at the top of that page going to like a website I made for my channel that has like a bunch of resources I made for Marvel Champions
Mhm.
and links to every other thing that you could possibly want involving the Daring Lime. So
Perfect.
yeah, YouTube, Daring Lime, and then links are in the top of my channel.
All right, perfect, dude. Well, like I said, thank you so much for talking to me today, man. I appreciate it, and we'll have to do this again sometime.
Yeah, I had fun.